I want to summarize the conclusion of my book, Training That Clicks, Virtual Design Playbook. And I know it's just a conclusion, so you may be wondering, why does it need to be summarized? But there's actually quite a little bit there, and I want to explain it to you. So the conclusion starts with a recap of the book and really why should we bother taking the time to create great training courses? Why does it matter? And I argue that we want to make sure that our courses have an impact and that our participants can go from passively consuming and not learning, and barely listening maybe, to applying what they're learning and making a difference in their job and to their organizations. I also recap the Venn diagram, which forms the model for the book. So in order to design impactful virtual training, we need some basics in instructional design. We need to understand the technology that we're using and use it effectively. And thirdly, we need to have an awareness and the skills to design courses for virtually. So that's the conclusion. Then comes the appendix. So in the appendix, I have some FAQs, frequently asked questions, specifically for high-level design, because I find when talking with people, this is where they have the most questions. So a couple that have bubbled to the surface that I included are, how many people should be in a virtual session? Or why is it important to move content from the course itself to pre-work or prerequisite activities? And what do I need to know about doing that effectively? Another section in the appendix is visual design. And I originally had this earlier with the facilitator and participant materials, but I moved it down into the appendix because the tone of it is fairly different. I interviewed my graphic designer, Brett Lamb, and so it's a little bit more, well, it's interview style. And I've been working with Brett for over 20 years. And when we started working together all those years ago, he introduced me to a model, CRAP, C-R-A-P. And that stands for contrast, repetition, alignment, and proximity. And if you keep those four things in mind when you're looking at things visually, it goes a long way to make sure that your materials are going to support learning visually as opposed to get in the way and be an obstruction. So I touch on that model. I also touch on color and fonts, and then I get into the difference between icons versus illustrations versus models. So that's a big section in the in the appendix. And then the last piece is the glossary. And throughout the book, I tried to remove as much jargon as I could, but there are a few terms that still cropped up here and there. And so I put them in the glossary and I defined them there for you. So that's the end of my book. That's the conclusion. I hope that you've enjoyed all these videos and I hope that you enjoy reading the book.